All right, so this is the part where we're going to practice shading forms. I've got my spheres done. We did the spheres yesterday with the value scales. And then our cones, this is what not to do, and I'm going to talk about cones first. Then we're going to do our cylinders and our cubes. So at the end, your paper should have 3 of each form. That's going to be your assignment. So this one, I just started. Before you start shading, you can put some guidelines to kind of help you where you want to shade. So for example, when we do the cylinder, we're going to kind of come straight down. The cone here, you want to think about like a piece of pizza, and everybody, you only got one piece of pizza and you got to share it with everybody, and they all want equals. They want the good stuff and they want the crust, okay? So what you don't want to do is go straight across like this. This is what not to do. All right, so my light source is here. Now I shaded this side as dark as I could with this pencil. And when I do my bottom, I don't want to kind of come at it like that. I don't want it to look neat and tidy, so I'm going to turn my paper so I can get that looking really good. Now I'm coming up on that first little guideline, so I'm going to ease up on my pressure there so I can get that next lighter value. Again, those guidelines are not supposed to show, so you want to make sure they're really, really light. And I'm going to erase this last one right before I do the lightest value. Now I'm approaching the next guideline, so I'm going to get it even lighter. And I'm getting a lot lighter than this guideline, so I'm going to go ahead and erase him. Again, don't rotate your pencil in your hand, okay? So I'm getting lighter and lighter as I move towards my light source. So now when I get to here, I'm holding the pencil way down by the eraser, so there's just barely touching the paper. And then I kind of sit back and look, and I can kind of see right here where there's this kind of a sharp change in value. I'm going to come back and add a little bit more, so that's a lot smoother. And right now I'm just kind of barely pressing like that, just to kind of maybe blend that out a little bit nicer. All right. And then for your shadow for your cone, your light source is coming from here, so a light is kind of probably coming around this corner, so maybe about halfway across. And this is more of a pointed object, so I'm going to make the shadow kind of, you know, not pointed so much as, but more angular than when we did the sphere. And it's usually darkest just underneath the shadow, under the object, but you don't want it to be too dark because you don't want it blending in with your object. And it just kind of softly fades away. And the outline for when I just kind of drew, you don't want to see that. So again, draw that really, really lightly. Shadows don't have outlines around them, right? They're just one silhouette. All right, so there's my cone. Now, so we did the 3 spheres, we did the cone, now we've got to do the cylinder. Now I can come back to my paper. I use these in class, so I had to go to the other paper. Now your cylinder, I just kind of put in vertical lines to kind of show where my value is going to change. So similar to the cone, I'm going to start on this side, really, really dark. And as I approach that first guideline, I'm going to ease up on my pressure a little bit. And remember, you do not smudge with your finger. That is not correct. It's not accurate, and it looks messy. I can spot a finger smudge a mile away. It looks terrible, y'all. That is not how an artist blends and shades, especially with pencil. You got to learn how to use the tool. That's why we practice value scales. All right, so I'm getting lighter because I've got another guideline coming up. So as I come around, my next value is going to be the lightest, so I'm going to go hold my pencil way out by my eraser and just barely can kind of sit back and go, all right, that needs to be blended a little bit better. I can come back and add some more. I'm not pressing very hard at all with this. I just want to make sure I've got the value. I don't have a bunch of pencil marks. You don't want to see those streaks. That's one of the reasons you don't rotate the pencil in your hand. All right, and now the shadow, kind of similar to the cone, is going to start about halfway, and it's going to be kind of longish. I might run into my cube here. But again, your darkest up under the object. And then you get lighter as you move away from it. You don't want any hard edges or outlines on your shadow. Shadows don't have outlines. And it just kind of lightly fades away. All right. Now your top, I've got this one here. So this one, my light's coming from here, right? This one is a closed, like a soup can, okay? So you're gonna be dark here and the light's gonna be on this side. Now if you want it to look like it's a cup, that the can is open, then that would be darkest here because light is coming from here. Light is not gonna turn the corner and come around. Light can reflect, but it doesn't turn, it doesn't change directions. So I'm gonna make my darkest value up here, or over here rather. And then she's gonna slightly get lighter. Need to blend that in a lot better. Get it together, Bentley. And then my lightest spot will be on that far wall. So you're gonna use these in a bigger drawing. So if you wanna do one that's open, okay, so this one's open. I'm sorry, this one's open, this one's closed. If you wanna try both of them, so you're gonna do 3 of each. And then our last one is the cube. I'm gonna erase this and draw it again. Now we did just get out of perspective. So if you wanna draw these in 2-point perspective, you can. If that's easier for you, but not 1-point perspective, okay? We wanna do 2-point. So when I draw it, just kind of sketch it out. I know how perspective works, so I start with my vertical. I know that's kind of sort of going to the point. Same with this guy. And then I've got vertical lines coming down from there. And then my top is parallel. We're going in the same direction really, okay? So that's just a quick sketch of a cube. Now, this is gonna be different than this because we want this to look soft and round so there's no hard edges. So when you do this, the cube, you can kind of obviously go from dark to light. So I'm gonna shade my first side dark. Again, not turning my pencil in my hand so that I get that really broad stroke and I can fill up that shape. Hang on. Oh, bless me. Thank you. So this is the only one where you're going to have a sharp change in value because we want it to look like it's got sharp edges. Everything else should be a gradual change. I'll blend that in a little bit better. Now, I'm assuming that this is going to be my lightest area up here. So this will be medium. Again, remember you want to have like 4 different values. You should have the darkest dark, your lightest light, and then 2 kind of in the middle. And that's just your minimum. You can have more, obviously, but you want a minimum of 4 values to really make it authentic. So my lightest light there, and then lightest light here, and then a little darker across on the other side. Not as dark as the darkest side though, because we don't want them to blend together. Make that a little bit darker. Don't be afraid to go back and adjust. If you're like, oh, that needs to be darker, and add some more pencil to it to make it right. And it's crucial when you do these that you're very precise with it. Like go up to your edges. Like see right here, I kind of messed up my edge. Let's perfect that a little bit better. . okay? So, oh, I didn't do the shadow. So the shadow on the cube, they're pretty straightforward because they're straight lines that kind of shoot out. And then darkest just at the shape itself. And then gradually lightens up as it moves away. All right, so by the time you're done, you should have your 3 spheres with shadows, 3 cones with shadows. You should not have that. That's, you know, me showing you what not to do. You've got your 3 cylinders and your 3 cubes, okay? I don't think I showed you how to do the cylinder, did I? So the cylinder, this is what not to do. You don't want a circle facing you. Your brain knows that it's a circle, but when something is sitting away from you, it has this kind of a shape here, an ellipse. And I actually, I did this one by hand, but I did these 2 with a template that I have in the classroom. So you can, welcome to use that if you're really bad at drawing ellipses. But it's good to kind of practice ellipses because they'll come in handy when you're doing other drawings down the road. And then you just come down with 2 straight lines, and then this bottom edge should be parallel to that top edge. So you don't want to have a straight bottom because it's a can. It doesn't have a straight bottom, it's round. All right, so that's our next assignment. It's going to be a minor assignment. You've got 3 spheres, 3 cones, 3 cylinders, 3 cubes, all shaded. And then we're going to put it all together for the next thing.